Hello guys, today we will be learning how to create histogram using Excel, and it's very easy. But first let's see what is the histogram and why it is used for. So this is how a typical histogram looks like. So you will see on the y-axis is the frequency and on the x-axis is the range, and the bars represents how many times that particular event has occurred. And it gives a very good representation of the distribution of the data. Now, this is something which is very important to understand data distribution, to see if the data follows the normal distribution, because lot of analysis assume that your data is normally distributed, and to observe if the data is skewed. So what's we are waiting for? Let's get started. Let's launch Excel. Once you open Excel, the Excel will look like this. Now, before we can perform any analysis, we have to get the analysis tool pack. To get the analysis tool pack, we go to File, More, and there is Options. We click on the Options and click on the Add-ins. What we need is the analysis tool pack. We select it and say Go. If it is already installed, it will be shown as tick marked. If not, then you tick mark it and say OK. Once you have done this, and go to the data panel, and you will see that data analysis tool pack is there, and it has a lots of analysis, and one of them is histogram that we are going to use. Now we download some weight data sets from Kaggle. We go to the Kaggle dataset, and this is the dataset which has weight and height for 25 individual of 18 years old. So we go to the download and we download this data. And once it is downloaded, we open this dataset. It is in CSV format. It will directly open in Excel. And once it opens, you will see that the second column is a height column and the third column is the weight column. The next step is to make bins. So to make bin, we have to calculate the maximum and the minimum. Right now we are working only with weights, but for your practice you can always do with heights. So we type the max formula to get the maximum weight in the whole data set. So the maximum weight is 170 pounds. The minimum weight, similarly, we can calculate using the min formula, and we do the same thing. We got the minimum. So we now know that the minimum weight is 78 pounds and the maximum weight is 170 pounds. So we create the bins. Now the typical bins would be like bins of 10 units or 20 units or 15 units. It's up to you to decide what would be the best. So suppose I do the bin size of 80, 90, and then if I want to continue, I select this and use select to select the other one. After that, I just pull it down to the point where I am getting my most of the data set covered. So now I have successfully created the bins. Once the bins are created, creating a histogram is very easy. We go to data panel and we click on data analysis, and here we click on histogram. We say OK. If you see, this is the input range. So here is the weight. So we just select this input range. For the bin range, we just select this as our bin range, which we have just created. Since our input range has a header, we create a label. We check mark this label field. We click on the chart output because we also want a chart output. And we say OK. And as you can see, your histogram is there ready. Now let's make our histogram a bit more beautiful. So this frequency is kind of redundant here. We remove it. So the histograms now takes more space. And as with histogram, we know it's a continuous distribution. So we click on one of the bar and right click it and say format data series. Here we reduce the gap, and the reason for reducing the gap is that it's a kind of a continuous graph. So this is your final histogram. You can change different styles and colors and get different types of histograms. Now, lastly, if we want to adjust the x-axis to a more good looking, we can just simply insert a column, and as we know, it's a range, so we can put it 80 to 90, 90 to 100, 100 to 110, 220, 120 to 130, 130 to 140, 140 to 150, 150 to 160, 160 to 170, and 170 to 180. So we have defined the more of the group. Now we change the x-axis. So first thing is we get rid of this, or we can give a title, whatever. And the more important thing is if we click on this and do a right click and say select data, and we go and edit it, and now we put this on the x-axis, and that makes it more beautiful. So you will see that instead of displaying just the number, it now displays the range. I make a final reduction of the gap, and this is kind of a very good histogram, and we can infer a lot from this.